Senator Ronald De La Rosa is recognized.
Mr. President, there has been speculations circulating around regarding the alleged involvement of the Chief PNP, General Albayalde, in the so-called Bato scheme. In fairness to General Albayalde, I would like to move for this body to allow or to authorize the committee, the Blue Ribbon Committee, to disclose the contents of the executive session that transpired during the last Senate Committee hearing regarding the GCTA anomaly. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator, the Minority Leader is recognized.
Mr. President, would the gentleman care to spread into the record the rationale for the authority being sought to make public the testimony in executive session?
Yes, I think he was laying it out as a predicate that there are many speculations. Please, Senator De La Rosa.
Yes, Mr. President, since that executive session was made during the GCTA hearing, and it's I think it's to be fair to the ones that is being alluded to. I would like to have the records or the contents of that executive session be made available for those who are interested, so that the truth shall prevail, not speculations, Mr. President, because the accused is presently the chief of the Philippine National Police, and it would be very unfair if doubts are being casted upon him.
The point is, I think the point of the gentleman from Mindanao is that there are many speculations coming out regarding the contents of what transpired during the executive session. And so he is seeking the permission of the body to give the Blue Ribbon Committee an authority to divulge what transpired in that executive session, to once and for all remove the cloud of doubt on anyone that has been named.
Yes, I just wanted to spread that on the record, Mr.
Yes,
President. But may I also remind the Chamber that under Section 128 of our rules, the proceedings are considered confidential until the Senate, by 2/3 vote of all its members,
Yes, sir.
decides to lift the ban of secrecy. That should be 16 votes, Mr. President. I'm sorry, 16? Yeah, 16 votes. I don't think we can act on the motion at this point.
Yes, Mr. President, to add to the discussions, Mr. President, with the permission of our Minority Floor Leader, we had the similar situation with the Acho Castillo case when we had an executive session in the lounge. And to be able to assist in the investigation of the case, we needed to get, as you said, as the Minority Floor Leader said, at least 16 votes of our members to act on it. And what we did, Mr. President, is we got the signatures of all members. At the time, all 24 members had signed, including Senator De Lima, who I believe was also still being incarcerated. But she signed in support of opening up what was discussed during that executive session. So as a proper procedure, Mr. President, maybe the best is to consult a majority of our colleagues. I'm sure they will not be against the motion, but we just have to wait by probably...
We have asked that the bell be rung. And
Okay,
give it
Mr.
a few
President.
minutes.
We'll wait for 16 members.
Let's see if we can muster 16 and if 16 will approve.
Yes, Mr. President. That would be the best proper procedure.
Yeah.
May we suspend for 1 second, 1 minute, Mr. President?
Yes, and ask the Sergeant at Arms to inform us on how many senators are there in the building.
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you.
Session is suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, yes, the motion of Senator Bato, just to reiterate the motion of Senator De La Rosa, is that he's moving that the discussions during executive session last week on the Blue Ribbon Committee that the Blue Ribbon Committee be given the authority, Mr. President, to divulge the information on that last executive session. It's the Blue Ribbon, Mr. President, committee who will decide. We're giving them
We are authorizing
We're
the Blue Ribbon
authorizing
Committee.
the authority, Mr. President. And with that effect, we also suspend Section 11 of the Rules of Procedures Governing Inquiries in Aid of Legislation. So we have Section 11 to suspend Section 11 on executive session and public hearing of the rules of procedure in governing inquiries in aid of legislation.
So to avoid a compound motion, let us go first to the first motion.
Yes.
Unanimous consent to suspend Section 11. May we entertain a motion to that effect?
I move.
Any objections? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Therefore,
Then-
we now can act on the motion of Senator Bato, which will fall under Section 29, which is, or rather, sorry, Section 28, which, 1 to 8,
1 to
Section
8.
1 to 8, I'm sorry, Section 1 to 8, on a two-thirds vote of all members that decides to lift the ban of secrecy to allow the Blue Ribbon Committee to divulge the information. Mr. President. I'm sorry, the Justice and Blue Ribbon Committee.
On both committees that
That is correct, Mr. President.
conducted the executive session. All right, so that is may I reiterate the motion before I recognize the minority leader? The motion is to authorize the Committee on Justice and Blue Ribbon to divulge the contents of the executive session, the last executive session of the committee. Minority leader is recognized.
Will the gentleman yield to a few clarificatory questions, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President, absolutely. To my
Mr. President, the motion is to authorize the Blue Ribbon Committee to divulge. I assume this is just a reiteration and strengthening and reiteration of the rule, because under the rules, as I understand it, the committee having the jurisdiction over this issue is the authority under our rules to divulge statements or testimonies in executive session for public consumption. So that there is nothing wrong, I don't see anything wrong with this motion. I just want to, the first question, it should not be interpreted that in future actions of any committee, the committee would have to seek the decision of the plenary. In other words, they can act on its own in accordance with our rules. And the motion that we are passing now does not in any way alter that rule, that the committee retains jurisdiction and can act accordingly, whether or not there is a vote on the floor.
Actually, Mr. President, to be very honest about it, I'm quite confused why Section 11 allows the committee to open up statements in executive session, because our main rules, the rules governing the Senate, is explicit on a two-thirds vote. To be very honest, I think this is a contradiction of our main rule 128.
Nevertheless, in the query of the minority leader, the ruling of the chair is in the affirmative. He is correct.
Yes, that's correct, in the affirmative.
All right. Having said that, Mr. President, thank you for that ruling. Having said that, may theoretically, and I underscore that theoretically, can the Blue Ribbon and Justice Committee disregard that authority and on its own decide not to divulge the contents of the testimony taken in executive session?
Yes, the answer
Yes.
is in the affirmative,
The affirmative.
again.
That is
Majority
correct,
Leader,
Mr.
yes.
President. That is correct.
Because he may.
Yes,
We did not say that he should.
yes.
The
that
Blue
is correct.
Ribbon may. He's being authorized.
Yeah, so that I just go back to the previous statement then that, in fact, this will just strengthen the hand of the committee that there is authority. Because
Yes.
in fact, it has the authority.
Yes.
What I'm just making certain is that in the future, the power of the committee is not diminished by the vote that we are taking today. That the rule that the committee has remained has jurisdiction over the matter having been referred to them, to that committee, should not be deprived of the power to decide on this issue.
You agree, Majority Leader?
I agree, Mr. President, but Senator Lacson would like to share another,
Mr. President.
another view.
Yes, Senator Lacson.
Are we not the committee? We are all members of the committee of the Blue Ribbon and the Justice Committee. The chairman is not the committee. We are the committee. And since we are voting in favor of the motion, the vote of the committee has been carried, effectively carried, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, if
Minority
it
Leader.
pleases the good gentleman from Cavite, the fact that we are all members of a committee doesn't make the action of the plenary in substitution of the decision of the committee valid, because technically we have no jurisdiction anymore. That jurisdiction having been vested in the committee. That is why when we have the order of business and the reference of business, we refer it to the committees. And you need to vote in order to bring that back to plenary. But we're not doing that now. We're just reiterating the rule that the Committee on Justice and Blue Ribbon are hereby authorized to exercise its power
Yes.
under the rules.
Correct. That is the proper perspective. Because what we are doing now is we are merely asserting the power of the Senate over the committee. For the record.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Actually,
Correct.
Mr. President, for the information of the body, when there is a particular committee report that's not being acted upon by, for example, a chairman, and 5 members, you only need 5 members to discharge the chairman or to pull out the committee report and assign to another member who could sponsor the measure on
or
floor.
bring it
on
to the floor.
Bring it to the floor.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, I do
Precisely,
not agree
yes.
more with the statement of the Senate President. The committee cannot overrule the plenary. The plenary can overrule the committee.
That's correct.
That's correct.
I think the
Precisely.
minority leader is just being naughty, Mr. President. Because the next thing we'll hear from
It actually came
him,
from the majority leader, Mr. President.
The
His
next
query
thing-
was this: if the Blue Ribbon Committee does not exercise that authority, notwithstanding the authority given in the plenary, he is thinking of reorganizing the committee.
that is the point.
There's no truth to that.
Anyway,
So naughty.
Do-
Okay, Mr. President,
All
it's
right,
very clear. I
again,
also,
the motion is very clear.
yes, Mr.
All
President,
right.
and
We are
I'm with
authorizing
you,
the committee.
and I'm with you, Mr. President, that the plenary is, the
We are
plenary
merely asserting our
can
power
assert the
over
power
the committee.
over the committee.
And we are authorizing the Blue Ribbon, the Committee on Justice, to divulge the contents of his executive session.
Yes, Mr.
All right. So,
I so move, Mr. President, we make a nominal voting on
oh
this.
yes, to make sure that there are 2/3 in the hall. The secretary will conduct a roll call vote.
But Pacquiao cannot vote because he has no out of order. There's no tie.
Roll call vote.
Proceed with the roll call vote. Honorable Senators Angara, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, De La Rosa, Drilon, Gatchalian, Go, Gordon, Ontiveros, Lacson, Lapid, Marcos, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Tolentino, Villanueva, Villar, Zubiri, Senate President Soto III.
I vote in the affirmative. With 17 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention, the motion is adopted and carried.
Just a manifestation.
Minority
for
Leader is
purpose of
recognized.
Explaining my vote. We vote with, I want to make a record our reservations. We voted in the affirmative and we maintain that vote. Our reservation is that our rules are very clear that the committee has the power.
Has the power.
Has the power. But there is nothing wrong with this resolution since it just reiterates a rule that we have in the
Yes.
rules. That authorizing the committee, actually, that is our, that is a decision that is already in the rules. When we adopted the rules, the plenary authorized the committee to act on this issue, and therefore, when we pass this resolution, it is nothing more than a reiteration of that rule as found in our rule book. So, notwithstanding the reservations of the majority leader, we
We understand and in fact concur